Hello, and welcome to Chapter 3 of Book 2 on the Big Answer, the single biggest answer to life's biggest questions. If you haven't, please start with the video titled Book 1, Intro to the Big Answer, and work through the Book 1 chapters after that before starting on Book 2. In this video, we're going to do a deeper dive on the concept of complexity as we'll be using it in the Big Answer. Complexity is simply the number of principles something has. Thanks for watching. Look, it might be a bit more complex than that, but not much. In the last video on order, we gave some examples of principles deteriorating. What do those look like when the principle goes away entirely? Instead of just spraining an ankle and still being able to walk and run somewhat, is decreased order, while decreasing complexity means you can't run or walk at all. Those principles are completely gone, as would be the case if one was paralyzed or had an amputation. Instead of mild dementia slowing someone down and making it harder for them to have conversations or remember tasks, advanced dementia would eliminate those entirely so that the person simply cannot do things they did before, such as take care of themselves, or play chess, or navigate their city. The principles they once had are gone. A warped basketball is decreased order, but one that has a big slash in it has lost its bouncy principle entirely and can't be used at all. A heart arrhythmia is decreased order, but a heart attack is decreased complexity. Hopefully, that is enough examples to make the difference clear. Now, we have to acknowledge the fact that we don't ever really understand everything's principles, and therefore can't look at something like a person or a society or an ecosystem and tally up all of their principles. For this pragmatic reason, when it comes to applying TBA in reality, complexity is a quality, not a quantity, which is a little neater anyway. Otherwise, instead of the 7 qualities, we have the 6 qualities and 1 quantity, which doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well. The fact it's not an exact quantity is totally fine for a couple of reasons. First, the vast majority of the time, the difference in complexity between two things or between the outcome of two choices is going to be pretty large and/or pretty obvious. And second, if the difference isn't large and obvious, it probably doesn't matter. The thing is, there usually isn't one choice that affects everyone on the planet. So if 2 or more options seem pretty close in complexity, or the sum total of the 7 qualities is quite close, humanity as a whole can try all of the options. In fact, that very tactic increases complexity. The quality itself encourages trying as many options and strategies and approaches to life and ways of living as possible, including different ways of achieving the most complexity, as long as you don't disproportionately decrease the other qualities in the process. This model is self-balancing, remember. Further, since our current strategies are often built on past strategies, and those past strategies weren't always the best ones in their original form, but went on to be modified to work very well, it can be beneficial to keep around many strategies that aren't necessarily the best, but which may inspire or be modified to create an amazing new strategy in the future. Second, the context we live in is constantly changing, and what used to be the best strategy in a previous context may be the worst strategy in the new context, while the strategy that used to just be mediocre could suddenly be the best one. So having lots of strategies, including ones that aren't currently the best strategies, can help us adapt as things change. In other words, the Big Answer explains why the best strategy is to actually have many strategies being used simultaneously. This is just one way the Big Answer proves that ideology and fundamentalism aren't good strategies. This is further reason we don't need to stress too much about exactly how much of any one quality something or someone has. A general sense is just fine. As long as a strategy is generally good, it's fine to let people subjectively choose it. That doesn't mean anything goes. In fact, we are currently employing a range of strategies that are objectively bad that would be beneficial to drop. The alternative is holding on to them until we no longer exist. Next, let's look at why we evolved to appreciate complexity as good. How does complexity increase one's likelihood of surviving? Throughout our evolution, having a more complex, nuanced understanding of our environment was beneficial. For example, seeing the ties and links between different phenomena helped us do things like forecast that, based on the amount of rain there's been, we need to be in this area over here because food there will be plentiful, but scarce elsewhere. Also, seeking out a complex diet meant that we could fall back on different foods when our main foods were scarce one year. Combining foods made for more complete nutrition, experimenting with different processing, cooking, and fermenting methods, using edible molds, leaching food and water before eating, or using nixtamalization, all opened up a huge range of foods we wouldn't have otherwise been able to eat. Tools, weaving, hunting strategies, language, specialization of skills, etc., all benefited, up to a point, from higher complexity. And all of these, in turn, benefited our survival. Even today, the ability to get your needs met through a variety of means and sources still helps your survival. For example, if you have multiple sources of income, then losing one isn't as big a hit. If you have a range of tight relationships with family and friends and community that will help you in times of need, that could support you through hard times. It also means that the loss of one friend or family member doesn't leave you with no one. So a subjective preference for complexity offered many survival benefits. And as the story goes, once we evolved the subjective appreciation of complexity, we applied it to things unrelated to survival, art, music, spirituality, culture, etc. That's all we'll go into for now on the topic of complexity. In the next video, we'll take a little break from the 7 qualities and talk about one of my favorite epiphanies I had when developing this model, redefining chaos and introducing the idea of a disorder filter to better explain many things we currently find counterintuitive based on our current flawed definitions and understanding of these concepts. I'll see you there, and in the meantime, do good smart.